Welcome back to Studio Chatter. Even with school starting, the kids need some good physical activities, especially those that help build self-confidence. Welcome Avery Higginson, the director of Esprit Dance Company, to our table.
Hello,
welcome.
Avery, for having me.
Thank you. You may be one of our youngest guests ever.
Really?
I know.
Right?
And I think I've known Avery since she was just a little baby.
I've got to ask, how old are you?
20.
And you're like running Esprit de Corps.
Yeah, well,
I
have a lot of help, but yeah.
But you're like it. Like, you're a big deal over
So,
there.
yeah, tell us a little bit about how you're connected to EDC and
Okay.
what you kind of do there.
So, my grandma actually started Esprit de Corps, and then, you know, my aunt ran it for a while, and now I just direct it. So, I grew up dancing there my whole life.
So like when you were probably 3 years old, you were...
Two.
Wow.
Yeah.
So her grandma is Leanne Hills, and then your aunt Joni Holmes now ran it, and now it's just generation to generation.
So Joni still owns it right now,
Right.
so I just direct
You just
it for
help
her.
run.
But yeah, it's
Which is a
awesome.
huge responsibility and so awesome.
That
And
is
Avery's a
huge.
beautiful dancer too. I've watched her through the years, so that's kind of fun.
so sweet.
And you dance for the high school on the drill team.
So I danced for the Spanish work drill team for 4 years as well. So
That's so awesome.
Wow.
I remember back in the day, I mean, a little bit of history there. So when we moved to Spanish work, I had no idea. Like, I grew up in Provo, I knew the dance teachers there. And so my back behind neighbor had some girls, and I'm like, do they dance? And she goes, yeah, actually, we signed them up with Leanne Hills, and I had no idea who that was. And I'm like, give me your number. So we signed up, and Miss Leanne was doing the dance studio in her basement. She had a wood floor down there and a big wall of mirrors, and it was so fun. But from the get-go, I just loved her, and I loved that feeling of that hometown that she really cared about and wanted to build confidence. And so
she started that in her basement, and then eventually bought a studio, and we've been there ever since. So it's awesome.
So do you feel like that's what you do all the time? Like you've just been dancing?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've danced my whole life. I went to drill team, and then I started teaching. That was like my very first job right out of high school. So this year I actually just barely started a dental assisting job. So when I'm not at the studio, I just am teaching. So
when you think back over your dancing career, has it built confidence, self-confidence? Like, what has that looked like to you?
Well, getting on a stage is hard. You know, it's super hard. And so when you have all this pressure to like look so good, it's hard. And so sometimes it kind of strays girls away. They don't really want to do the whole dance part. So our whole goal is to kind of build their confidence at the studio so that they are able to go on stage and perform to their best of their abilities. So
can you tell, I mean, I always look back, and with my two daughters, Mallory was a perfectionist. Like, she wanted to do it right, and so sometimes she hated making the mistakes. Mackenzie was really, really shy. And I remember one of our first dances with Miss Leanne, and she had to be in this little flower pot type thing, and then they're supposed to come out, and she just like stayed tucked in there. The second year comes around, we were standing, and then she was supposed to tap, and she just looked down the whole time and did tap. So we eventually, and then she made the drill team. But like, so impactful that you take those children, and she just kind of worked with her and allowed her to, you know, take it step by step. Do you see those kids that come in, and how do you handle those shy ones? Or do you bring them to the front? Do you let them stay where they are?
Honestly, it's kind of hard because they're so, you know, they've never experienced anything like that. So my biggest thing is creating a like one-on-one relationship. Like, I get to know their family, I get to know other things about themselves, and once they kind of like trust you, then you are able to build the other side of like, when they're out there, they have that like connection with you, so you're able to kind of like, hey, come on, you got to do this, and you're teaching them certain ways to build self-confidence, and so when they have that foundation of a friendship type thing, and then you're adding in all the other things, they blossom into this like
it's just kind of like building on top of each other.
So what kind of programs do you offer? Like, if you had maybe a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old, what could you register them for?
So we start ages from 2 years old all the way to 18, and we do a lot of recreational classes and also competition classes. And so with our recreational classes, they usually come to about once a week, unless they're wanting to do acro and tumbling, they can come to those classes as well. So we also offer
you do? Okay.
acro and tumbling.
Okay, acro means acrobat.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm like,
This is new to us.
Yeah,
It's like
that's a new
added.
one.
yeah. So just backhand springs,
Okay.
chin stands, things like that. We offer all those
Because
things.
that's like new now, like in dance. Like
Yeah.
you kind of have to have some of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, aerials, those tricky things that the judges like. But and then for our competition teams, we have like teams that are coming 15 hours a week. But there's also girls that want to do competition, but they're not like to that level yet.
Yes.
They don't really want to spend that many hours at the studio. So we've offered a competition team where they come twice a week and they do like half of the competitions that our other teams do. And so it's half the time,
really
but
great idea.
also half the money and expenses and
Right,
things like
because
that.
maybe
it is
they have
expensive.
other things like
It is
soccer or
expensive.
something, and so then that gives them balance.
So it's kind of hard when they want to do more than recreation classes, but they can't do competition.
Right.
Or we have girls that have been dancing their whole lives, and then they go and try out, and it's their first year, and it's like you can't really put them with girls that have been dancing for so long on a competition team.
Right.
So we've made this team that it allows all of those
For that
things.
balance.
With
Yeah.
you and Barrett, like just that she's so good at dancing, but she also has her interests in.
In figure skating.
Yeah,
and
and she's so
yeah.
good.
I mean, I think there is maybe like some sort of a balance, or girls get to a certain age and they're like, well, maybe I want to do this, or maybe I want to do this, or academics sometimes come into play,
Right.
or I mean, there is sometimes a lifestyle where
Right.
you're like, oh, or I need to choose this, or there's even solos sometimes, or I mean, and I think pursuing different things sometimes maybe it totally, I mean, it depends on the girl, it depends on the
Yes.
family, it depends on finances, it depends
Right.
on so many variables for everyone. So I would probably ask then, if somebody was making a change even with studios, maybe what makes, what stands out with your studio?
I would say we definitely focus on confidence. Like, confidence is so huge nowadays in everything, and so we really focus on that. Like, I mean, that doesn't mean that we're not pushing them
Right.
and things like that, but we definitely focus on that, and we always want there to be a spot for a girl. So we're never going to turn a girl away if there isn't a spot for her on the team, or if we always want to make sure that there's a spot for each girl.
Okay.
And just allowing anyone and everyone at our studio, and just really focusing on the confidence building.
Okay. Tell us where you are. Where is
So
Esprit
we
de Corps?
are at 1211 Expressway Lane,
Okay.
and that's just right behind the old Kmart. It's just kind of like a
And Wendy's
Now we're
kind of
Coin
up that
Crazy
way.
yes,
and
right there.
the Maplewood
it's
events.
just on
you
that
kind of
little
run.
strip mall. So yeah.
And I know, and how important, I know that my girls went from EDC and then tried out for the drill team. How important is that to have a good foundation in dance, to be able to make some of those high school teams?
We actually really push our girls to go on to high school sports. Like, that's just one thing that we feel like is super important, is when you go into high school, like, be involved in those things. So we really push. So if you are wanting to go on to drill team or cheer, whatever you're wanting to do, we really push you to do like a super competitive team, because we're competitive, but then when you go into high school,
It's a whole nother
it's a
level,
whole nother,
right?
yeah, it's a whole other level. So we are training our dancers to go on to that.
To be able to transition.
You're definitely
make a team.
preparing them
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really important. There's got to be an end goal. Either you're doing dance just to love it,
Right.
you're doing it to compete, but a lot of the girls are trying to get better so they can eventually move
Right.
on to that, or maybe to college
Yeah.
after that.
And some girls don't, and that's totally fine. Like,
Right.
of course we'll keep them, and then some girls, just do it to love it, and so
Right.
we just
All different levels, like you said.
Yeah.
Oh, how I miss watching my girls dance. So there's nothing like it. It's just such a neat way to express
Yeah.
yourself, and that
build
confidence.
friendships.
Build friendships for sure. How many carpools we had
Yeah.
with our girls,
Lots of
and
carpooling.
that's all part of it. And the drill trips and the dance trips.
Yeah,
And
it's so
One
fun.
of my daughters, the reason we got her into dance, she was probably like, I want to say 7 or 8, so maybe 9, so a little later then starting it too. But we were camping, and grandma, aunts and uncles, cousins, we were all dancing around the campfire. My husband just had like the 80s music playing. We're all dancing, and she was too embarrassed to get up and dance. And I just like, okay, even if you go to dance lessons, to dance around a fire, to have that confidence that you can just have rhythm and move. So I just think it's just, and she ended up on the high school drill team.
Yeah.
So.
Because you can gain confidence in all different ways, but this is definitely like another
and learn.
aspect.
So
I think it carries through in life even.
It does.
Yeah.
So.
Lots of lessons.
Yeah.
So
I think it's great, and I love that you guys have been in the community for so long, and it's going through generations of teaching.
It does. We have like girls bringing their babies, and they're like, we grew up dancing here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So Avery,
really
before we wrap up, you said that open registration's right now, and if someone comes in and mentions that they...
Yes, so if anyone was, watching Studio Chatter and they come in to register, it'll be a free registration.
Okay.
So
wow,
yeah.
that's free registration, moms.
Yep.
Free.
Yes. This time of year, that's huge. Yeah. What a great studio, great people.
Good luck this upcoming year with all your girls.
Thanks for having me.
There's more coming up on Studio Chatter.